Here we go. New parak. Fourth parak. Lamed bet, amud bet at the bottom. En ben. En ben is, there's no difference between, except. There's no difference between this and this except for this. There's many of these. You see the little aleph there. It points you to Megillah Daf Chet. So that there's many of these en ben mishnayot and Masechet Megillah, and I think this one's brought there as well. So it starts off like there's en ben Shabbat and Yom Tov except for Ochel Nefesh. En ben this that then right. So en ben, there's no difference between Hamoder Hana'a Mechavero Lemoder Hemenu Ma'achal Ela. We'll continue that. So there's no difference between a person who says, I don't want to benefit from Reuven, to someone who says, I don't want to benefit from his food. Except for, we'll see what the exceptions are. So case one is the guy says, I don't want to benefit from it at all. I don't benefit from Reuven. Next is, I don't want to benefit from his food at all. Everything else, I can benefit from. I don't want to benefit from his food. So what are the exceptions? What are the differences? Ela drisat regel, walking, which means I could walk through his backyard to get to my house. I could walk through his land to get somewhere. That has nothing to do with food. V'kelim she'en osim bahem ochel nefesh, or vessels that you don't make food with or not connected to food. That I'm allowed to. I'm allowed to borrow his car. So I'm allowed to borrow his. So now we're going to actually talk about car because you could drive a car to get food. So that's not a good example. I'm allowed to borrow his lawnmower. Lawnmower is used for grass. That's it. All right. So we're going to see though. I'll jump the gun even right now. That if it's an item that usually people rent out, like let's say I go to my friend, this guy Reuven. It's not so much my friend anymore. If I said I don't want to benefit from him anymore, but I say, hey Reuven, you know what? Even though I said I don't want to benefit from your food, I need your lawnmower. And he says, well, typically lawnmowers are for rent in this area. So, well, you know what? I won't charge you rent. So because he's saving me on the rent, instead of $50 for that day, so I can now buy money with that food. I can buy food with that money. So now if I can buy food with that money, it's like he gave me a benefit of food, and therefore I can't use it. So but if it's an area, but if it's it's not business. I'm borrowing his lawnmower. It's borrowing.
Thing is the same, because if we do business, I make money. And with that money, I buy food.
So that's the same. Anything that you could get, want to see the steps to get to food. But let's say it's just, everybody lends a pen, lends a lawnmower. Like, people don't rent that out. If you go to your neighbor, hey, come out a lawnmower. So they lend it to you. So everybody lends that out. So it's not something that people rent out, and therefore I'm not getting a monetary gain, so I could borrow that. But in a case where I said I can't borrow anything, or I have no benefit from this person at all, then all these things can't get any benefit. Okay, let's continue the Mishnah. And the Mishnah explains, the Gemara is going to ask why the Mishnah needed to explain this further, but the Gemara explains. Hamoder ma'achal mechavero. The person says, I don't want to benefit from his food. Lo yeshilenu, he cannot lend him nafeh v'kavra, types of sifters, and these sifters are have to do with food. I think kavra is a sifter. What is sifter? Like you get back in the day, you had flour and you sift it in order to make sure there's no rocks in it or anything like that. No. Is nafeh a sifter? Or is nafeh a fire air blower thing? What is nafeh there?
Yeah, sieve, yeah.
Sieve and a sifter?
Grain sieve.
Grain
sieve and
flour sieve and grain. Okay, two types of sifters, sieves. Ve'rechaim. Rechaim is a millstone, or a hand mill, or a big mill. So you're crushing your grain to flour. Ve'tanur, or a oven, or maybe even a portable oven or whatever. You can't lend it to him because that all has to do with steps in the process of food. But you could borrow, you could lend him a clothing, a ring, a talit, a cloak, and a zamim, and other types of jewelry. So the Gemara is going to ask, what did the Mishnah need to add here that it didn't say in the first sentence? Okay, we'll see. Actually, you know what? Let's see. I think the Ran answers. It was not the Gemara. I think the Ran. Let's look at the Ran. The first word on the line is lo. Lo yashilenu nafe v'kavra rechaim v'tanur. Itzrich limini hani. The Mishnah needed to teach us these kiyechi in order in order not to think the kelim sheosim b'hem ochel nefesh asiri. That you said that vessels that you make food with is asur. Nami b'moder hana'a. Hani mili. Nami b'moder ma'achal. Meaning what's also included when a guy says, I don't want to benefit from your food. Okay, so kelim that prepare food, that is also included. I can understand that. But hani mili, you might think you might think that's like for, let's say, pots that you actually cook the food in. Inami or shiput shitzulim bo basar, or let's say the shipudim, the shishlik metal. What are those things called again? The skewer. Thank you. The skewer that the actual food is cooking on. Aval hani gorem de gorem ninu. These are a cause for a cause. It's a oven that cooks the food that's in your pot. You don't just put the food in the oven; it's going to fall apart. It has to be in a vessel, so it's maybe 2 steps removed. Or you sift. Now, after sifting the flour, all you have is flour. So now you have to take in water and then this and then bake it. So there's a few steps removed. Or your millstone is now taking grain to flour. Then you still have to do so many more steps. You might think it's too many steps removed. Vilishru b'moderana. You might think it's allowed if the guy says you can't benefit from my food. Kamash Malan, the Mishnah comes to teach us that these items are also included. Even if it's a few steps away, they're also included. Okay, Gemara. Mantana. Gemara asks, who is the author? Who is the Tana? Who is the author of our Mishnah? Doesn't have an author. Amar Rav Adabar Ahava. Rav Adabar Ahava says, and actually last time I pointed out that a person's name was Ahava, and here he says Rav Ada, the son of Ahava. This name was always known to me, Rav Adabar Ahava, but you never think about it. The guy's name was Ahava. Okay. Amar Rav Adabar Ahava. Rabbi Eliezer. It's Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is the author. How do we know? Titania, there's a Braita. Rabbi Eliezer, you see the Braita is also in Masechet Megillah. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, Afilu vitur asur b'moder hana'a. Even vitur, ani mevater lecha. Vitur is I'll let it go for you. Even in such cases, it's asur b'moder hana'a. Let's see the Ran. He's going to explain further. The last Ran on this page. Afilu vitur. Things that sellers usually are mevater, they usually include and throw in to buyers. Shemosifim lahem keshelokhin perot echad o shnayim afilu oto vitur asur b'moder hana. So a guy, let's say he throws in 1 or 2 fruits. When you make a buying and selling, it sounds like over here that the buying and selling is allowed. I mean, let's say this guy said to Reuven, I don't want to benefit from your food, but now I'm buying it. That might be, I'm benefiting, because here it's saying that even if the guy throws in another 1 or 2, okay, fine, you know what, here, and everybody throws in another 1 or 2, let's say that was the custom or whatever it was, even that is something that you can't benefit from. Even though it's something that we're going to see even further, even something that he wants to get rid of, even it's items that he wants to get rid of, and he just throws it in, still can't benefit from. But it seems like the actual buying and selling, that's not an issue.
Depends on how much you buy, like we studied before, right? If you get a benefit from the price, maybe in the market.
Even it doesn't matter because, like, if I cannot benefit from his car, like from his whatever, for free because I save.
No, but here we're talking about buying. Here we're talking about buying. So I have money already. Now I'm buying his food.
Okay, but like we are making a transaction in which both sides benefit, monetarily benefit.
No, but now that I changed money for food, okay, I can't benefit from his food, but that was my money that now is translated to food.
I'm not talking about the directly food. I'm talking about the money, like
I know that you
trade value.
Yeah, okay. I hear in the other case. Let's say I'm selling food to him, and I get money from him. I could go buy food with that. That maybe I understand. But here, I'm losing my money to get food. So it seems like that's not an issue. Um, like we're kind of equal. We're not benefiting one or the other.
You're
We're
giving up
equal.
something for something.
Yeah.
Regardless if you got a good
Yes,
discount.
the vendor is the one who's benefiting, not the other guy.
The seller has been
Not necessarily.
No.
That's what
That's
I'm
what
saying.
If maybe he's the only guy selling in the town, so I'm benefiting.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we spoke
cannot-
about that. We spoke
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah. It's covered by- In as much to benefit from the vendor, even though he is a purchasing item from poor market, really, so the sale itself is a benefit to the vendor. You see 31A. We learned about this. It has to be in a case where it's not lopsided, and you're right. Like it can't be that I'm the one I'm the one benefiting over here. It has to be the case where the guy, let's say in our case, who's not Reuben, the guy who said I don't want to benefit from Reuben, that guy's not benefiting more from the sale. So okay, so now the sale is done, but he throws in a few more things that also says Rabbi Eliezer you can't benefit from that. As we learned that even though it's something that he wants to get rid of. So when it comes to moder hanaa, meaning you can't benefit from the guy at all. So moder hanaa, right? Not even moder food. Moder hanaa, I mean, I don't want to benefit from him at all. So things that he throws in that anyone, it's not a direct benefit to me. It's not like he's throwing in two because it's me. He would throw in two to anyone. You can't benefit from it, even if it's something he wants to get rid of, and therefore you can't even walk into his field. So Rabbi Eliezer is like the most strict when it comes to moder hanaa. Any type of any benefit, you can't benefit from him. So that's the Gemara here saying that Rabbi Eliezer, it must be that he's connected to our Mishnah, because Drisata Regel is the example given. Walking in the guy's field is the example given for what's allowed when I say Moder Ma'achal, but it's not allowed in Moder Hanaa. You might think like no one cares if you can walk in my field. Like it's like whatever, it's a path. Fine, anybody can walk. No, it's even that where it's not no money benefit, no nothing, but that small benefit is what the Mishnah is saying is not allowed in a case of Moder Hanaa. That would be in line with Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbanan pligi aleh. So the next piece in the run of our top line of Rabbanan, the pligi aleh savri de kol echad lo asar alav ela hanaato ki agavna lo mikri hanaa. This case of walking in this field is not considered a hanaa. The given the immediate lo kapti ba inchi. This is the key word for Rabbanan. Things that people are not makpid on, and this is not considered benefiting your friend. People don't care about this. People don't care about it. It's not considered a benefit. So Rabbanan would say people are walking into the guy's field, they don't care. The guy is everyone knows the guy has a path in his thing. And everyone goes there, the public almost, and he doesn't, and therefore it's not something that it's specific to me. He doesn't care. So Rabbanan would say walking in the guy's field would be okay. Rabbi Eliezer would say no, and therefore our Mishnah, which includes Drisata Regel in the Moder Hanaa, would be in line with Rabbi Eliezer. If you skip down in the run on 33a, where it says Ule Inyan Halacha, it's like 10 lines down. So with regards to Halacha, Pasak HaRamban Zal Ki Rabbi Eliezer. The Rabban is posek Rabbi Eliezer, Damar Vitur Asur, Kevan the Satam Lan Tana Hachar Kavateh. That the Tana goes with him, like the Tana over here, it's stumped. There's no one arguing on him. This again the Pirek Shutfin Shenadru Kavateh Azla. אבל רבנו חננאל כתב בפרק חזקת הבתים לגבי אלו דברים שאין להם חזקה להלכתה כרבי אליעזר וכן דעת רבנו תם. Rabbeinu Hananel and Rabbeinu Tam argue on Rabbi Eliezer because they say that Drisata Regel is something that you can't own, meaning if a guy buys a house and there's already a public path there, it's already been established by the public. So therefore it's the public, it becomes the public's. You can't own it. So therefore they would say that that's such a far benefit that Rabbi Eliezer is too extreme. So they argue on Rabbi Eliezer. But the Ramban goes with it. Okay, let's go back to our Gemara. Bottom line of Lamed Bet and Bet. Hamoder ma'achal mechavero lo yashilenu. So the Gemara is quoting the Mishnah. Don't lend him all these vessels. Asks the Gemara, Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph, veha min ma'achal nadar. Hold on a second. The guy said, I don't want to benefit from his food. He didn't say, I want to benefit. He didn't say, I don't want to benefit from his vessels. I don't want to benefit from his food. So, where did vessels get in over here? Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Levi, says Rabbi Shimon ben Levi, be'omer hana'at ma'achalcha alai. Shimon ben Lakish. Thank you. Yeah. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, be'omer hana'at ma'achalcha alai. The benefit of your food is on me, meaning I don't want to benefit from your food. So a benefit from the food could include any type of benefit from the food, which is any vessel or any vessel that has to do with food. The Gemara asks another question on that. Ema, maybe it means when a guy says, I don't want to benefit from hana'at ma'achalcha alai, maybe it means, Ema, maybe it means, shelo yil'os chitin v'yitena makato. That to include a case that you're not allowed to chew on wheat and put it on a person's wound. So that was, I guess, a type of healing. So when a guy says, I don't want to benefit from your food, that's actual food from eating. But I don't want to have any benefit from your food. Maybe you're going to say, that's not including vessels. That's including using food in a different way. Using food in a way to use it as to heal. So you might think that that's what it means. Hana'at ma'achalcha alai. The benefit of food, meaning any, not just the eating benefit, but any benefit of food. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rava. Rava says, Be'omer, no, what the Mishnah means is that the guy says, Hana'a ha'mevi'ah lideh machalcha alai. Any benefit that brings to food, that is what I don't want to benefit from. Any benefit that brings to food, so grinding, tanur, anything that brings to food, and therefore that is what is included. Let's jump down to the Ran a second. The Ran has an interesting point here. That now that the Gemara establishes that what we're talking about here is Hana'ah ha'mevi'ah lideh machalcha. Let's read in the Ran. It's an interesting point. So let's look at the bottom line in the middle-sized lines. There's like 7 middle-sized lines. The bottom line of it is Ela hachi havi paska de milta. Rather, this is the psak of these, or this is the psak halacha. He says like this, meaning the Gemara is establishing that our Mishnah is talking about the guy says Hana'ah miviyah lideh machalcha. But what if a guy says Hana'at machal only? Let's see. The inadar mima'achal. So the Ran now puts it into perspective. Each case. The inadar mima'achal. If a guy says, I don't want to benefit from his food, eno asur ela ba'achila bilvad umutar b'chol davar acher. The guy cannot benefit from Reuven's food, but everything else is allowed. The vessels are allowed. The healing is allowed. Next, amar hana'at ma'achalcha alai. The guy says hana'at ma'achalcha, like the second case we just said. Asur ba'achila ve'asur lil'os chitim agabi makato. It's asur to eat his food and asur to use food for any benefit. But to borrow from him a sifter, etc., is allowed. Amar hana'ah mevi'ah lideh ma'achal alai. If a guy says, I don't want to benefit from anything that brings to food, asur ba'achila, asur to eat his food, ve'asur lish'ol nafeh ve'kavra. It's asur to borrow any items that can make food, any sifters, etc. But mihu lil'os chitim v'liten al gabi makato shari. But to chew on wheat and use it as a healer is allowed. The Ran has a chidush over here. Because in our last case, when you say, I don't want to benefit from any from a benefit that brings to food, he says, now that case of the healing is not included in that, and you are allowed to benefit from that. Amazing. You might think that it's a build-up on it. No, he says that only when you said, Hana'at ma'achal chalai, the benefit of food. The benefit of food, yeah, you can't use it for healing because that's including any benefit of food. But now that you've changed and said a benefit that brings to eating, that brings to food, a benefit that brings to food, that's not including
But now,
the
in
healing.
this case, it makes sense that you cannot use the vessels. Because
Yeah,
vessels
exactly. Yes, the vessels. That's what the Gemara established. The chidush of the Ran here is
Yeah.
that now you could now benefit from the healing thing. Okay, if that's the wording you said. Back to the Gemara, 4 lines down from the top. Amar Rav Papa. Says Rav Papa, sak lavi perot, a sack that brings fruits. So that also, he's going to say all these cases you can't benefit from. When you say, I'm not going to benefit from food, anything that brings the food, this is also included. V'chamor, le'avi alav pirot. I need to ride on my donkey to go to the market. That also. V'afilu tzina be'alma. Any type of basket. Hana'ah, hamiviya, lideh ma'achalu. This is a benefit that could bring to food. Because I go to the market, I need a basket to get my food. I have a sack for the fruits. I have a chamor to get me there. All that is, that's why when I started with renting a car, that wasn't a good example. It says Rav Papa, all these are included in benefits that could bring to food. By Rav Papa. Rav Papa asks a question. Sus lirchov alav, a horse to ride on. V'tabat liraot, or a ring to show off. Liraot ba. What's the law there? Or another thing is mifsak umezal be'ar'eh mai. Mifsak umezal be'ar'eh. What does that mean again? What does it mean? That you're going in his land?
Mm-hmm.
Going in his land. Stepping in his land?
Using the land as a shortcut to return quick home. Enabling him to eat sooner.
Enabling him to eat sooner. Yeah, so that's what's going on here. Okay, so these 3 cases, we're going to see the run, but like we said, a chamor you can't ride on. Well, now what's the Gemara asking about a sus? So a sus is a horse, and a horse is more expensive than a donkey. And a guy rides on a horse, then also the chamor we said lahavi alav perot, chamor to bring him food, meaning I'm going specifically with this chamor to go get the food. You can't use it. But a sus lichov alav, a sus to ride on. But what's going to happen is that people see this guy on a sus, and now let's say when he goes to a party or it could bring him to more food because people are going to say, "Oh, wow, this guy's a wealthy guy. He rides on a horse." So let me give him more food. Let me give him more. Or a ring. The guy's a rich guy. He's got this ring. So can I borrow? When I said I want to. This again, the context is I said to this guy Reuven, I don't want to benefit from your food or anything that brings the food. And now he's like, I'm going to this party. Can I borrow your ring? So yeah, but if you're gonna go showing around, this ring this guy's got. Like, well, you know what? Let's bring this guy more food. Bring him a nice plate and good food.
The door for a lot of
For a lot of things, yeah. So that's what we're asking over here, right? Or can I go in his land to make a shortcut to get home faster, to eat faster?
Eat faster too.
To get there to eat faster.
But
So
it's not his food. I'm benefiting from my own food.
yeah, but it's something to bring to the food. Even in the case of the tanur,
No, I
it's my
understand
own
the
food,
point.
but I'm using his
No, but like it's directly related to food. But like
all these are a few steps behind. Let's see the Ran where it says sus. The first word is this is 4 lines down and the widest of lines in the Ran. Sus lichov alav etabal dirot ba mifsak u'me'ezal be'arei mai. Demi amrinan, do we say nehida? This is a question. We're still not sure. We didn't get to the answer. Nehida kravat mahama'achal elav mikri hana'a hamiviyah lidim ma'achal. If I bring the food closer to you, is that considered a benefit of the food? Afilach lakriv atzmo lema'achal kimifsak u'me'ezal be'arei. Getting closer by walking in his line. Kadesh yesham mehera lavana meviyah lidim ma'achali. Shaniatam she'asa b'ma'achal atzmo. So yeah, that's what you say. You use your own food. She'asa she'oseh ma'aseh b'ma'achal atzmo. Oh, yeah. That's so. The question is, meaning you're doing a maaseh in the food, meaning a tanur is or a sifting is you have the food here, and but here it's not a maaseh in the food itself. But the truth is, earlier was when you're riding to go get the food, or you have a sack for the food, or riding on a donkey to get the food. Here you're riding around, and now it's nothing to do with the food itself. Or you have this ring, or you're walking on his land faster. That's maybe a step removed. As if you're now looking like a chashuv person, that rides on a horse, and you have this ring on your finger, which will say, they're going to give him a good piece. All these cases are like a cause, it's too far removed. As the question is it too far removed or is it not? Let's see. Says the Gemara, Tashma, come in here. Aval mash'ilo chaluk v'talit u'nizamim tabaot. The Mishnah said that you do lend him clothing and rings. You do lend him that. So Hechidani, what's the case? If it's not to show off, like then do we need to mention it? Like not to show off, but if it's not to show people, then do we need to mention it? Then there's less of a benefit. It must be it must be that when you're lending, when the Mishnah says you're allowed to lend him a ring, it must be that you can show people the ring. And the Mishnah says you're allowed to lend it. Answers the Gemara, lo. We could learn it not that way. Le'olam shelo lirot. Meaning, really it means when you lend this guy the ring, he's not supposed to show it off. And that it says in the Reisha, lo yashilenu, the beginning of the Mishnah said, lo yashilenu, don't lend it. That's why in the Sefer it says mashilo. What does that mean? I did tell you. Sefer mashilo. I mean, the Gemara wants to answer now that no, it's talking about a ring not to show people. That's what you could lend.
Why?
That it is in the Reisha not to lend. Here it says to lend in the Sefer.
Like, I can't think of any reason why should I
What is it? What is the
borrow a ring from a person?
Not to show.
Okay, not to show, or I can borrow a ring, give it to a pawn shop and get money and buy it back in make some kind of monetary gain advantage.
I think that's too far removed. That's not a usual thing.
Yeah, but in either case, I benefit from it. Why
you're just borrowing the ring
for what?
To wear. You want
to wear and not to show. Am I going to walk like this? Don't look at my head.
There is limited functional use of a ring, other than cosmetic. I'm saying, other than cosmetic.
Yeah, give me an example.
The only reason he's borrowing it is because he's going to a banquet,
Yeah.
so he can show it.
Yeah,
So
that's
you get
benefit.
that
That's that
respect
benefit.
and
So other than that, why?
That's the only one. So that leads to food. That's the only
It's
thing.
not his intention. What's your intention? Is your intention to wear the ring to show it off, or do you don't want to wear it and then to show it off in order to get more food? Good morning. Is your intention to show that thing? Shalol liraot. Really, maybe speaking of where it is not the borrower's intention to be seen with these items, and indeed, there's no novelty in this ruling.
Who are you gonna show it to? Your wife or other? we're gonna show it then. We're gonna show it off. I mean, if you lend some.
I never saw
some
another
thing.
case like in a banquet that, oh, this guy has a ring, let me give him more food.
Well, but
That's different. It's a different era.
mentality, different era.
Different
Yeah.
era, right?
But oh, look at this guy's car. I give him more food. Guy, look at this guy's the suit. Look at this guy's. I don't know. Since the first part of the Mishnah states, the fellow may not lend him a flour sieve, a grain sieve, a mill, or an oven. That the latter part teaches, however, he may lend him a shirt, a cloak, earring, and rings. That is, in order to achieve a symmetry of expression, the Tana followed the statement of prohibition with a statement of what is permitted. Thus, we have no answer to the question of whether indirect facilitators such as a horse, ring, or shortcut are also prohibited by a benefit that brings to food. Consequently, we rule stringently in the matter of and forbid these items to run, but do not impose lashes on one who uses them. Okay. So this last piece here, the Gemara says the Gemara rejects this proof because the Gemara wants to say, well, the Mishnah says you could lend him a ring, so you see it's an indirect. So the Gemara says no, it's a le'olam lo leraot. Really, it's talking about a guy who's really maybe speaking where it is not the borrower's intent to be seen with these items. He's just wearing it for his own self. It's not his intent to be seen with them. He never intended, oh my gosh, they're going to see my ring, now they're going to give me more food. That never crossed his mind.
Just want to wear it out.
Yeah, I just want to wear it for myself. I just need something to match, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But since the first part of the Mishnah states the fellow may not lend him a flour sieve, a grain sieve, a mill, or an oven, the latter part teaches, however, you may lend him a shirt, cloak, earrings, and rings. That's in order to achieve symmetry and expression. But it's not to be like lira'ot, not to show it off. So the Gemara is answering that it's not a proof from here that we say, oh, you could lend them a ring, that, oh, it's a ring to show off. No, we're talking about just, you want to wear it for your own self. And therefore, the Gemara doesn't get to an answer with the question of Rav Papa. So at the end, these are very far removed. Riding a horse so that maybe people are going to give me a better place, a better piece, or a ring, or cutting through, and that's going to save me time to get to my food. We're talking about a case where it's not your intention. So if it's your intention, you can't. If it's not, you can't benefit from the guy that you said you want to benefit from. If it's not your intention, even, can you or not, that we don't answer. And that the Ran, he rules strict on that. The Ran rules strict on that. Okay, let's stop over here.
You
Just
can't
one
prove,
last point.
You can't prove intent. How can you prove intent?
Right, that's why Rav Papa goes stringent. That's why Rav Papa rule his ruling by Rav Papa lo ifshita. Rav Papa goes stringent. If we can't know the guy's intent, I don't borrow the ring. You don't know.
Plus, if I cannot borrow a chamor because it can lead me
No,
to go to
it's not-
groceries,
It's not because here it's the chamor case was you're using it to go to the groceries. No,
maybe my
that's the case.
intent
That's-
is to go to
But that's the case.
water.
That's the case. A chamor lahavi alav perot. It's
It's
like a sack. Like a sack. Okay, can I borrow your chamor? I gotta go to the market.
Otherwise,
It's
I can't.
direct. Yeah, otherwise it seems like maybe you can. But the sus is just
That
the
wasn't my
chova.
understanding.
That's
I would think that we're doing the nether of his food, not any food that I can benefit. That's why I have like difficulty to understand. But I'm saying I'm taking this
Yeah.
maybe from his food, not from any food that I can benefit.
So you're right.
Doesn't give me
It
my
is his
food.
food, but any step along the way. Let's say it's my food, but it's his mill. That also I can't because it's a preparation for food.
But
Because he
saying.
isn't like
I
he hasn't.
understand the anah I'm getting
Yeah.
from the item he gave me in order to provide myself food. That's
Right.
I understand. I'm just saying, like I took a nether, for example, from his food. So any food that he is owning.
No, so that's why we
what I thought.
established at the end. We established it's hanaa hamivi'ah lidem achalcha alai.
Any malcha.
Any hanaa that brings me to food. Certainly your food brings me to food, or any benefit that brings me to food, which
By
is the
saying-
tanur, which
Yeah,
is the
by
thing.
saying the nether of
That's how we established the nether
So
at the
that's
end.
that's the
Right.
main idea of this one. Like in the what you said is that was my understanding too. But like the Mishnah now teaches that when you say such a thing, you have to understand that you cannot even benefit anything else. Like
Yeah.
you know.
Chazak Baruch, guys. Till tomorrow night, B'ezrat Hashem. I'm sorry, I'm starting late. I'm sorry for starting.